Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. So I've been waiting for this story, been following it quite a while ago. It was all to do with a strip search that was done at, I think it was Splendor in the Grass a few years ago. And there were allegations that what the police did was actually illegal, the strip searches. So I remember reading about this story a couple of years ago and thinking, well, it seemed it seemed like the police had really overstepped their boundaries, and it didn't really seem like they had an actual reasonable suspicion to conduct some of the searches that they did. And these strip searches that they were doing were quite extreme, were really quite extreme. I conducted quite a few searches on people while I was in the police, in GDs, but a strip search like this, I mean, they're the kind of searches that I would never have thought went on anywhere outside of when you're going into a watch house or something like that. Yeah, just really extreme. And it doesn't amaze me that it doesn't surprise me, sorry, that it's gone this way. And what I believe, why I was so interested in this particular case, this story, was because police and the government in general, but police services across the nation. I saw it while I was in Queensland. Well, I was a police officer for Queensland Police, and I've seen different stories with New South Wales and Victoria. They use they use the law and they use charges as an intimidation tactic. Okay, they might have a suspicion. They might be thinking that they're on the right track and they're going to charge people, so they will use it to intimidate. And if they make a wrong step and they think, oh well, we might be overstepping, but we can intimidate the person into into line, so to speak. We're not really sure if the person has done this or if they've done something illegal. We're not really sure if we could have done it, but we'll just bring such pressure down upon this individual that they're going to want to plead guilty. They're going to want to come into line, or they're going to want to fall into line because they're so scared of what we're doing and they feel the pressure. They're just using, they're just using it as a weapon, and it's deplorable, disgusting what they're doing. So the story came out a couple of days ago, and this was in the Guardian. It was reported. So absolutely no evidence how New South Wales police backflipped on unlawful strip search. So this was, like I said, all to do with Splendor in the Grass. So Raya Meredith was at one of Australia's biggest music festivals when a drug detection dog sniffed in her direction. The dog then walked on. The New South Wales Supreme Court recently heard, but police officers stopped her. They took her bag and searched it. The 27-year-old, who was postpartum at the time, was then taken into a makeshift tarpaulin where a female police officer asked her to take all her clothes off, bend over and bare her bottom, drop her breasts, and remove her tampon. At one point, a male officer walked in unannounced. That's disgusting. The male officer should be stood down. The search found no drugs and nothing else illegal. It was a horrible thing to go through, Meredith said in emotional testimony on the first day of a class action against the state of New South Wales. But so too, Meredith told the court, was the gaslighting she endured for years by the police force, who denied her version of events, leaving her feeling violated yet again, shortly before a class action against New South Wales police began almost 2 weeks ago. The force backflipped. So they've been denying it, denying her version of events. Now they've backflipped and admitted in court documents to unlawfully strip searching her. What mongrels. Mongrels. Like I said, they use this tactic so often. I saw it used myself. It's an intimidation tactic. They just use it to threaten the person, make them feel like they cannot do anything. They cannot fight back, push back. They have nowhere to go. So the person just gives in. It was difficult to have police officers who were there, who saw it, say I was lying, she said. Meredith is the lead plaintiff of a class action that wrapped up this week, which was brought by Slater and Gordon lawyers and the Redfern Legal Centre against the state of New South Wales over allegedly unlawful strip searches conducted by police, including of children. 3,000 people have signed onto the class action, but the affected cohort could be twice as large. The case did not just focus on Meredith's evidence or police practices when it comes to conducting strip searches. A large portion of closing arguments this week went to the police's conduct throughout the case. For 2 years, until just before the proceedings began, the police denied the search of Meredith was unlawful, arguing they had had reasonable suspicion based on her demeanor and body language. The police had called 22 witnesses, mostly police officers, to contradict Meredith's version of events. So, if you don't know, if a police officer is going to, they say they're going to search you for drugs or something like that, they need to have a reasonable suspicion. And generally, they need to articulate what that reasonable suspicion is. They can't just make it up, then they, oh, yep, no, I've got a reasonable suspicion, and that's it. You need to say, this is my reasonable suspicion. This is why I suspect blah, blah, blah. But in the days before the hearing began, the police withdrew their witnesses. So they had 22, just leave it all hanging overhead. Yep, no, you're crazy. This didn't go on. Oh, no. Now we've got no witnesses. Meredith was the only witness to appear, taking the case down from scheduled 20 days to just 5. The police had also attempted to subpoena Meredith's medical history, even though she had not made a personal injury claim. Why on earth would they need her medical history? The plaintiff's evidence was, if I could have walked out of this case then and there, I would have. As Kylie Nomchong SC, who acted on behalf of the plaintiffs, told the court. And this is exactly why police use this tactic, because they want people to get tired of pushing back, tired of fighting back. All the money, the time, the stress, the mental stress, it gets overwhelming. That's why they do it. We say the issue of the subpoena was a strategic one designed to and having the effect of intimidating Meredith, and that's exactly what it did. That's what it said. Nomchong said the police should pay aggravated damages due to their conduct during the class action. I don't think police should pay aggravated damages. I think individual officers who make the decision to bring these charges, they should be facing the courts and facing charges themselves of intimidation. That's what should be happening. Individual police officers should be on the hook, because a police officer has made the decision to do it. Okay, he's gone down and said, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to intimidate. And that officer should know that if we're not going to follow through this, if we don't really have the evidence to follow, but we're going to go ahead anyway, then they're on the hook. They're going to be facing charges. So she told the court, the police had made the outrageous submission, asking Your Honour to infer that it was objectively necessary to search the plaintiff's breasts and genital area without any evidence whatsoever. It's just offensive, Nomchong said. Two of the witnesses, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that name right, but anyway, two of the witnesses the police force withdrew were the female police officer who conducted the search and the male officer who walked in unannounced. So all of a sudden, unavailable. The only available inference is that any evidence from those officers would not have assisted the defendant. Julian Sexton SC defended the police's conduct in the case during his closing argument, saying aggravated damages could not be awarded because Meredith had not been recalled to give evidence about how she felt about New South Wales Police's conduct during the class action. Justice Dina Yehiwa, I don't know how you pronounce that, sorry, who oversaw the case, said she was concerned about their conduct, specifically the police having had 3 iterations of its defense before backflipping shortly before proceedings began to admit it did unlawfully strip search Meredith. But like I said, they use it as an intimidation tactic to get the person who they are harassing. They want to make sure they fall in line. You're too stressed. The mental fatigue that you come under, you end up just saying, okay, I'll just agree to it. I'll just go along with it. Anything just to get away from the charges, to get away from the stress that it brings. She goes on to say, That is a matter, I'll be quite honest with you, of grave concern. She said, listen, there's not much more to the story to read. I saw this tactic used while I was at Queensland Police Service. Uh, what I'd seen a few times was police decide, or the police service decide, hey, we're going to charge someone with, let's say, 50 separate charges. In reality, they should probably have only charged someone with, let's say, five. But they'll go ahead and write down, yep, we're going to charge someone with 50 charges. The person's then left to employ a defense lawyer. They have to, they spend a lot of money negotiating with police, trying to get the charges withdrawn. It just spends a lot of time and money and frustration getting the charges withdrawn. The police will then withdraw the charges and go back to the original five that they should have only used in the first place. Or we see other intimidation tactics where they'll just, like what happened in Victoria. There was that lady who put up the comment on Facebook when we had the COVID plan going on. Police went around, executed a warrant late at night, charged her, left the charges hanging over her head for, I think it might have been 2 years at least. And then just before it was all to go to court, I think this was in Ballarat. I think it was. They withdrew the charges just before it got vetoed. So, it, the poor lady has these charges hanging over her head for quite a long time. You can't move on with your life. You've got, like I said, the mental stress, the fatigue of having to worry about charges, thinking about the worst case scenarios. Could you face a massive fine, possibly go to jail? It's hard to move on, get other jobs, or with your employment or whatever. You've got to say, oh, I've actually got these charges, criminal charges hanging over my head. Worst thing could happen, who knows, I could end up in jail. It's hard to move on with your life. Police use these tactics just to intimidate people against ordinary Australian citizens. And then, like she said, they were gaslighting her. Hey, we never conducted these searches. Oh no, the male officer didn't walk in. Oh no, none of this ever happened. Oh, we've got all these people here who are going to come and give evidence against what you're saying and contradict what you're saying. So you should stand down. You should be intimidated. You shouldn't fight back. Oh, and then lo and behold, at the very last minute, oh, actually, yeah, we did do these searches. They were illegal. We no longer have any witnesses to back up our claims that we've been claiming for the last, or was it 2, 3 years now? I mean, how can things suddenly change like that? Oh no, we've been saying this for such a long time, but what do you know? We've changed our minds. Nothing to see here now. All our witnesses are gone. I believe we've got a number of issues here. We've got police who, let's just face it, a lot of police who are just incompetent. The reason why we've got so many incompetent police, I believe, is because our governments have struggled to bring new blood in, and because they've struggled to bring new people in, they've just lowered the bar. They keep lowering the bar. First, they've struggled because they've made an enemy out of a lot of people and they forced a lot of people out because of the mandates and this kind of thing. Secondly, they've lowered the bar because they wanted so much DEI. Unfortunately, you know, if you're insisting on certain ratios and you're not getting the ratios, well, the manner in which they make up for it, they decide, well, we'll just lower the bar. We'll just lower the standards that we have to have before we can accept people in. And then you get a lot of police officers who just shouldn't be on the job in the first place. Secondly, we don't hold police and government accountable. The government had a big hand in these strip searches and pushing. It was all a political ploy because drugs at these festivals. We've got to do something about that. So we have senior officers pushing for all these things to be done, these strip searches to be done, and then no one has to answer for it when it's shown that it was illegal. No one answers for it. There's no accountability at all. So the government's not accountable. Senior police aren't accountable. The officers that conducted the strip searches aren't accountable. No one is accountable, and except for the young lady who's been made to feel, who's been demeaned in such. in such an horrendous manner. I think it's absolutely disgusting. Anyway, this is all my opinion. I'll keep following this story and see what the outcome is. Hopefully, I don't think it'll happen, but it would be good if police were held accountable. It'd also be good if police were held accountable when they go and use law and use charges as a weapon against people to intimidate and coerce people. This is all my opinion. My name is Jay Fallon. Check out the rest of my podcast and my music. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's going